Hi team, so today's topic is going to be talking about information overload and the idea that there's a lot of information out there. Can we do it on our own? Can we go and get that information? So first of all, there is a lot of information out there. The internet is abundant with information on training, exercises, workout plans, programs, etc. Is it possible to just do it on your own, go out and try it? Well, yes and no. I've tried this myself, and what it resulted in is probably about 15 years of me coming from a novice to hopefully someone with some knowledge on the topic. And just like anything, it's a lot of hours of trial and failure. It's a lot of hours of kind of looking at what's best, what's not best, trialing it out in the gym, spending time realizing maybe it wasn't the best, or taking elements that were. And it's like a big body of research. One of the issues is in kind of nowadays society is that we've got so much access to information, we can kind of get an information overload. It's like loads and loads of information coming into a funnel and it's all getting jammed at the bottom. We can't distill out what we want. I talked a little bit about this in kind of my first video, which explained a little bit about my background. And what I found was I did a lot of program hopping. I sort of was kind of like, what's flavor of the week, what's working for me. And if I was doing powerlifting kind of based training, I'd always be a bit like, I kind of want to concentrate on physique a little bit as well. So I'd switch over to that, but then I'd feel like I wasn't getting my strength training in, or I'd feel like maybe I wasn't getting my explosive training in. I'd watch somebody else do, you know, quote unquote functional training, which we'll talk about later in the week. But I'd think, oh man, I need to be throwing med balls around, etc. And unfortunately, what it happened was that I never really progressed that far in any one of those areas until I really started to get a clear focus. And really, the focus came from having coaching. That was one of the most important decisions that I made, and I still do that right now as well, guys. To find somebody that I felt had valuable information and had already got further down the journey than I had, and ask them for their help. Once I started getting coaching, what it allowed me to do was remove my own bias from the program, remove my own emotions from the program, and all I did was followed what I was told. I would follow it, I would get feedback on it, and then I would continue to progress. The benefit was that I kind of got to the gym, I knew what I was doing, I could get the workouts done, draw a line underneath it and go. One of the real issues that I had when I started was knowing when to wrap a workout up. So I used to be in the gym, I'd get what I thought was a good amount of workout done, but then I'd think, maybe I should stay a little bit longer, especially if the gym crush come in. I was like, okay, more bicep curls. But seriously, it was difficult to know when was enough. And if you guys are, you know, in the capacity of training, you guys are athletes, you're on the mat, you're training hard, you're used to working hard, that can kind of be a real benefit in terms of mindset for the gym, but it can also be a detriment. Sometimes you're in the gym, you've done 8, 10, 15 movements, and there's no end in sight. And really what you kind of want in that scenario is a program or a coach or somebody giving you the advice to say, this is where we're going to draw the line, this is what's going to be today's session, and this is what will be for future sessions. The best way I can describe this to you guys is there is an abundant information out there on BJJ, on grappling, on wrestling, on judo, and all of it is really useful. I'm sure we've all watched a YouTube, we've watched an Instagram video, we've all probably bought an instructional, and they can definitely make enhancements to our game, and they can definitely make tweaks for us as well. However, imagine starting your grappling journey and you never had a coach, you never went to a class, you didn't have anybody to follow, to bounce ideas off, or someone to guide you through that journey. Let's be honest, most people when they get into grappling, they start scrolling Instagram, they're going to ask you what a flying armbar is, what reverse flying triangle is, how to start doing big slams, dump tackles, heel hooks, Imanari rolls, etc. Whereas a coach is probably going to start them on the fundamentals. They're going to build a strong basis for them to structure their technique on, and they're basically going to form the bottom of a pyramid. It's no different in any walk of life, and it's definitely no different when it comes to strength and conditioning and it comes to training in the gym. What's really important is focusing on the most, base of the pyramid, the most important bits, the kind of most bang for your buck, if you like, elements, and then we can start to stack other things on top. It's also not discounting anything. Just like a rolling or flying technique has its place in grappling, so does a lift, so does a throw. It's exactly the same when we're doing strength training. There are going to be elements that are more fancy or more flash, or there's going to be elements that maybe are smaller, less important, but play a role. And it's knowing when those should be included in the program and when they shouldn't be, and when we should be concentrating on some of our core foundational movements. like I say, I received coaching, and that was a big turning point for me. When I was doing my one of my qualifications, I was lucky enough to work with Dr. Eric Helms, for those of you that follow bodybuilding, and Dr. Mike Zordas, who's a powerlifting coach. It was all through a company called Shredded by Science, which is now merged into a different company. But at the time, they said, you know, do you want coaching alongside your qualification? And I was like, well, I'm already doing like a quote unquote advanced qualification. Do I really need the coaching? You know, it was back in the time where I thought maybe I know quite a lot. What I didn't realize, I should say, is how little I did know at that time. And I accepted the coaching after some thought, and it was a huge change for me. Like over the 12 weeks of this particular program, I've seen massive changes in my strength, massive changes in my muscle mass as well. It was the first time that I managed to succeed in any type of bulking phase, whereas before I would always go a little bit and then pull back because I was scared that I wasn't, you know, I was getting kind of too quote unquote fat or soft. I wasn't as lean as I wanted to be. But having somebody else tell me, no, this is great, moves next to the next phase, moves to the next phase, telling me what I should be eating, what macros I should be following, you know, what calorie targets, was so good, and it took a massive weight off my mind, and it solidified for me that moving forward I would always have some level of coaching. The biggest thing that came out of that though, guys, was accountability. And so when we think about accountability, all that means is that somebody's got your back, not in this sense, but in the sense that they're watching out for you and they're actually waiting to hear from you. They want to know how the workout went, how your sleep went, how your nutrition was going that day, and they're prepared there to hopefully help move you from where you are to where you want to be. So think of it this way: if you've got a dedicated grappling coach at the moment, if you miss a class or you miss a couple of classes, they're probably going to kind of call you out. They're going to say, where were you last Tuesday? What were you doing? You know, is everything okay? Same as if you have a bad day, if your head goes down, or if they watch you roll and maybe you didn't perform to the best of your ability, they're probably at some point going to pull you to one side, hopefully offer you some tips, give you some advice, or at least try and find out what's going on, where are you at? This is the important thing of accountability, and it makes a massive difference. What we don't want to be is on our own. It seems like it's going to be like the brave option, the tough option, like I did everything done on my own, I sort my nutrition, I sort my training. The issue is if we hit a road bump, or if we just got a blip, or quite simply, if we have a bad day, whether that was, you know, on purpose or by accident, we miss the gym, we go off our nutrition plan, or we just have a bad night's sleep, it's nice to have somebody watching and saying, okay, I can help you with that. What was the issue? Even it's just something, you know, to talk about, just to say, yeah, no, I know what I did wrong, I messed it up, but there's somebody watching, rather than that kind of go by the wayside. So one of the most important things I can say is find somebody for accountability. That's going to be really, really big in progressing you. So guys, just to wrap up, there's so much information out there. What we want to think about is a clear pathway through it, a clear approach that kind of gets rid of all of the fluff and just gets us concentrating on big results. I can't stress how important that was for me, guys. When I started to get somebody else managing that for me, it made a massive difference to my mindset and to my results. And also, guys, that all-important accountability. So with accountability in mind, one of the things that I would like you to do this week is a mini task for me. Now, don't worry, it's not super tough, at least I hope not. But what I would like you to do is at some point in the day, preferably in the morning, when you get up, what I'd like you to do is one set of push-ups. Now, first of all, it would be good to see where your push-ups are at. But the most important thing that I'd like you to do is once you have done your push-ups, I'd like you to come back to this video and I'd like you to comment on it, how many reps you got. Further then, the next day, you can reply to your own comments and fill in how many reps you got. Now, what would be great is if I'm seeing a little bit of progression whilst you're doing this exercise daily, but most importantly is that I'm going to be watching you. Okay, in a really nice way, of course, but I'm going to be watching you and I'm going to want to see, hopefully, every single member of this group show me some accountability, do that task, and comment on that post. So I look forward to your numbers, guys. Have a great day. So when we're performing a push-up, guys, we want to have our hands where they're comfortable, more on that later. We're going to have our body out in a straight line, abs engaged, and we're going to be coming down and touching our chest to the ground and then driving out. Now, I don't need to pause on the floor, guys, but what I do need to do is actually touch my chest to the floor. I want to make sure that I'm going for a full range of movement and actually bending my arms, okay? A lot of people will stop quite far from the floor, and I'm sure you've seen various kind of range of movement in push-ups, but this is what we're going to be looking for a correct push-up. Now, some people will say, I'm not quite strong enough to do that right now. That's absolutely fine. So then when we do a modified push-up, it doesn't change. We have exactly the same setup, From this position then I'm going to bring my knees to the ground, and you can remove your feet if you want to, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing, only from my knees. So I'm keeping my body in a nice alignment and not allow myself to drop down to the ground.